We consider ourselves a conservation group, but we do garden as well. Sometimes gardening is a gateway toward understanding the importance of all of the whole ecosystem and the importance of native plants there. I do want to have a caveat. As I said, I was clerk to the Board of Supervisors, so you can tell right from that I'm not a scientist. I'm not a botanist. I'm not a trained horticulturist. I was an econ major in college. I went to the College of William and Mary. I'm a native of Virginia. I'm native to this area, grew up here, and still live here. I think Northern Virginia is a fabulous place, has so much to offer. I know traffic is an issue, but we have many beautiful spaces here. I also wanted to see, as you see here, it says autumn wildflowers for your garden, from asters to witch hazel. Well, when Kim and I first started talking about what I would say, I first said asters to turtlehead. And then as I started doing my PowerPoint, I realized, I should go up to the W's and stuff. There were some good plants there too. So over here is an aster, and over here is the witch hazel. So with that, I usually like to ask my audience, how many of you are master gardeners? How many of you are members of the Native Plant Society? How many of you are newbies? But can't do that exactly in a Zoom. But because I'm not a professional, I do this more for beginners. So I hope that those of you who know an awful lot will not be disappointed in what I have to share tonight. So with that, let me continue on. So we sort of think about fall, when does it really begin? When we talk about fall wildflowers, well, here's our calendar for 2020, and there's such a thing as astronomical fall, and that begins with the autumnal equinox, which this year is going to be September 22nd. But then there's something called meteorological fall. It's a little hard to say, but that begins September 1st. And so fall is considered September, October, November. And that's very close to now. That's only a few weeks away. So we're getting close to fall. Birds are already starting to migrate. They start migrating in the end of July. So, fall is coming, and there's a lot that you can do in the fall with plants. So when you think of autumn or fall, what kind of flowers usually come to mind to, your general population? It's probably these. And what are they? Mums, chrysanthemums. Everybody associates them with fall. They're not native. They don't provide much in the way of pollen or nectar or something for our native insects. But this is what people think. You go to Home Depot or Lowe's or something, and, the mums are just all over the garden center. But and if it's not mums, then it's these pansies. That's what you see at the garden centers for fall. These are the fall flowers. Well, these are not native plants, and they don't give much to the ecosystem. What we really need are other fall flowers. Now, when you say fall flowers, the people that maybe know a little bit about what's growing out in the weedy field, they think, oh, it's the allergies. They all cause allergies. This goldenrod, oh my God, it makes me sneeze. I get bad allergies in the fall. But goldenrod is insect pollinated. It is not allergy inducing. Its pollen is very heavy. It's not airborne, so it has to be carried on insects. So don't blame goldenrod for your fall allergies. It's actually this plant. Very insignificant kind of flowers. They're sort of greenish. You really don't notice them. And they don't need to attract insects to come and pollinate them. These flowers are wind pollinated, and this is ragweed. I used to have horrible allergies to ragweed. I didn't look forward to the fall. I dreaded it, but I finally outgrew it in my later 20s. So goldenrod, good. Ragweed, great native plant for the animals, but it does cause a lot of our allergies because it is wind pollinated. So let's think about, why do we want to plant in the fall? Here's a nice scene. It's one of my favorite scenes. It's along Route 17 on the Crooked Run out near Paris, Delaplane in Paris. And these are tick seed sunflowers. They're an annual, but you know, I look forward to seeing fields of these in the fall. But some of the reasons why we plant in the fall is that we have warm soil temperatures. So that's good for plants getting a good start and getting their roots growing. It's pleasant air temperatures. You're not out there, you know, in 95-degree weather trying to plant or something. You have less water stress because you don't have that hot sun that with 90, you know, the 95, 90-degree weather beating down and, you know, drying out your plants. And then this is one that I saw online that it's a time of fewer feeding insects. And when you think of things like, you know, Japanese beetles or something, you know, there are definitely fewer of them in the fall that, you know, in spring and summer is when they're really out. So I just offer that as perhaps another reason to plant in the fall. And then I'm going to tell you about what are great plants in the fall. Now, I love asters and the insects love asters. Technically, Virginia no longer has native asters. Some years ago, the scientists got a hold of the genus called aster and decided through DNA that we don't have asters. We have eurybias and symphyotrichums. And this particular aster here, aromatic aster, is a Symphyotrichum oblongifolium. So, you know, Symphyotrichum is a lot harder and trickier to say than aster, but we don't have native asters, but we still use the common name aster, which makes things easier for laymen like us. And here's one that's a Eurybia. It's a whitewood aster, and this one can grow in the shade. Most of your asters love the sun. They want, you know, full sun, and they're just a beautiful color and bringing in all the butterflies and insects. But whitewood aster and a few other asters like the shade. They do very well in the shade. This can fill up an area in your shade garden. I have a lot of shade in my yard. As the trees have gotten bigger, I mean, I purchased a wooded lot. It's just a 1/4 acre, and I have some big trees. So things like whitewood aster are a lifesaver if you want to have flowers or color, you know, out in your garden. New England asters. These are an aster that really likes the sun. And some of these asters, Symphyotrichums, can get pretty tall. And what you can do to keep them from being so leggy is you can cut them back, you know, maybe in May or something. This particular one is out at the Dale City Rest Area where some of us volunteer and weed and whatnot. We planted it a few years ago. It's really lovely. And we have New England asters and some other asters there. But look what this does. I mean, it brings in things like honeybees. I think I did that correctly. If I didn't, then you all can, you know, correct me. And then there's a common checkered skipper butterfly here on an aster. You know, it's almost impossible to see, but I had an expert that identified that for me. So, you know, these kind of flowers bring in the insects, you know, they nurture our ecosystem. Another cool one is boneset. It has these white flowers. It's a eupatorium. Some of our other plants used to be called eupatoriums too, but then once again, the botanists in their research through DNA, you know, found that some are not eupatoriums anymore. So, but boneset is, and perfoliatum refers to, it pierces the leaf here, the stem pierces the leaf. So, you know, these Latin names do have a good, you know, good reason. They're usually named for a reason, and they're very descriptive. And here, you know, we have a monarch butterfly. So it does bring in the insects. Blue mist flower is one that I really like, but some people think that it is a little overzealous. Now, when you look at this little picture here, it very much resembles ageratum, that you can get as an annual. This is a hardy ageratum, a native plant. And, you know, when we say hardy, it means that it is perennial. It'll come back next year. It's not annual. You don't rip it out of the ground after the season. And just so you know, all the plants that I'm featuring here are perennials. You know, they'll come back year after year. So I really love that about our native plants. So many of our native plants that are perennial, you put them in, and then if they're happy, they multiply. You don't have to keep going out and buying annuals or whatever. So the blue mistollar it was one that used to have a different name, but it's now conoclinium or something. So see, here it is. It's attracted a buckeye butterfly. And here you can see just how vigorous it can be. It likes a moist meadow. I mean, if it has a moist meadow, it's really going to spread. And some people think it's just too vigorous, but its color is just gorgeous when you see it in the evening or something. It has this wonderful iridescence, and it really does bring in butterflies and pollinators. And here, I think this is a pearl crescent on some. And just because I like blue mist flower so much, here's a couple other photographs. This is a male sacrum, and this is at that rest area at Del City. And here's a tiger swallowtail, which is our state insect. So it's a very beautiful, stripy, large swallowtail butterfly. And there's something called helenium. I'll call it helenium. I don't like to use the common name sneezeweed. I think that's a horrible name for it. It does not cause you to sneeze. It's, you know, just like goldenrod. It has heavy pollen. It has to be insect pollinated. Its pollen doesn't fly around in the fall. So it's a very pretty flower. And helenium just sounds really pretty. And here it is at this, this is a park and ride not far from Blandy, the State Arboretum at Blandy, where the Native Plant Society has its presence, a little office with a part-time staff office manager. But this Waterloo Park and Ride has some wonderful helenium there, and, you know, in big clumps. It's very pretty. They didn't plant this very artistically, unlike the Dale City Rest Area. This is just a big block, you know, kind of two rectangles or something, but the plants are beautiful. And then, now this is helenium, and, you know, if I saw you in person, I would ask the class, you know, okay, so what is this? This is a monarch caterpillar, and what's it doing on a helenium? Well, as you can see, he's a pretty big guy at this point. So when they get large enough, ready to pupate, they leave the milkweed generally and go and crawl over on some other plant or a post or wall or something like that. So they leave the milkweed at that point. So, you know, he's not eating the helenium, but he just happens to be on that. So I just thought that was kind of cool to see that. Here's one that is an unusual looking flower. It's a gentian, and all gentians do bloom in the fall. They're a later blooming flower, and many of them like wet. Another name for closed gentian is bottle gentian, and you can see here, this one was from my garden. I don't have a wet garden, and I was thrilled when it came back one year because I'd bought it from Earth Sangha, and, you know, I just didn't think it would come back, but I had it near a bird bath, which I thought, you know, every time I filled it, maybe it would get some water. So I thought it was so fabulous. But then I went to a friend's home once, and this is me looking down at the bottle gentian, the closed gentian that she had in her yard, and it was just so impressive. Mine looks so puny, but it really is a beautiful native plant, and it blooms later, you know, late September, October. It might bloom a little earlier. Some things are a little out of whack now, but just a really cool looking plant. And I think some of the insects have to actually, you know, bite a hole in it or something, because it is truly closed. Some of the other gentians, like fringed gentian or something, are open, but they are this really pretty blue color. Then we got goldenrod. Boy, if you think of fall, goldenrod is it. And this is at the rest area at Dale City. This happens to be one of the cultivars. Now I know some of us purists, I don't consider myself a purist actually, but they don't like cultivars because horticulturists have kind of messed with the straight species, the native species, and kind of bred it to be a particular thing. Well, this one, I guess it's more floriferous. It's more compact. So it's very showy, but it's very showy. And, you know, the way these were planted, they're all close together. They really look like a hedge, and it's a fabulous showing of that. But goldenrods aren't just for the sun. An awful lot of them are for the sun, but we have some, you know, there's a goldenrod for whatever situation you have. Wet, dry, shade, sun, whatever. This one is zigzag goldenrod, kind of a cool little name, flexicalis. And then we have this one, blue stem goldenrod. It also has another common name. I think it's wreath goldenrod. And I really like this under my trees because it brings some bright color under my deep shade. So you don't have to have bright sun, you know, full sun for all the goldenrods. There's one for you. And I'm just showing here a couple of the animals, the fauna that will come to goldenrods. Like here's a thread-waisted wasp, and they are making some more. And then here's that common buckeye butterfly, which it really is prolific in the fall, because sort of like monarchs, buckeyes do migrate, but they migrate just, you know, further south from here. You know, they still stay in the US. They don't go across the Gulf of Mexico. Lobelias. Do you know this one? Just a stunning flower that is blooming now. Sometimes it doesn't bloom until September, but you know, there's always anomalies or something, but lobelias are just gorgeous. This is cardinal flower, and it's named cardinal flower after the robes that the religious cardinals wore, not after the cardinal bird, because the bird was named after the religious cardinals too. So that's the red cardinal flower, red lobelia, and then this is blue lobelia. So it's another gorgeous flower, and it doesn't grow quite as erect as the cardinal flower. This is a little more, you know, bushy. But if you have cardinal flower, you are almost guaranteed to get hummingbirds. As hummingbirds are fueling up later in the season, getting ready for their migration, they come to cardinal flower that has wonderful nectar for them, long tubes. So it's just perfectly suited for the hummingbirds. Then another one of my favorites is New York ironweed. It's just starting to bloom a little bit in my yard, and I'm seeing it at Huntley Meadows as well. It's another one that I think just has a beautiful color and an iridescence, especially at dusk. This one here, all along this lake, this is Silver Lake Park in Haymarket, and it has a lot of the New York ironweed, which is, you know, butterflies do love it. So it's just such a stunning flower. It can grow really tall. You know, it can get 8 to 10 feet, but if you cut it back, you know, maybe to just a foot or so around May, no later than early June, it'll get bushier and it won't be as tall. And let me also tell you that if you don't give it its optimal conditions, it will be shorter as well. I have one that is growing in the crack between my sidewalk and a little wall. I'm not my driveway, and a little wall, a little rock wall that I have containing flowers. And one came up in that crack, and it stays only like 18 inches tall or something, because it's not an optimal place. So if you deprive it of sunlight and whatever, it might be shorter for you. Here's just some more of it. I just love the colors, and you know, these ones are spent, but more are coming on. So I have a lot of it in my garden. It does like to seed around, so it's a great one to give to friends, or you know, to put in a plant sale or something and offer it to others. So, and this is another one at the rest area. You know, we have it's just a butterfly mecca there. So if you're ever coming up 95 northbound, generally for me, I get off at the Route 234 exit, so I don't see it, but it's, you know, if you're coming northbound a little further, take a stop there. It's just a wonderful place. We haven't been doing weeding this year because of different circumstances in addition to COVID, but I'm sure the flowers are doing very well. And then I'm bringing you obedient plant, which a lot of gardeners like to call disobedient plant. It gets its name because you can take these little flower heads and just push them around with your fingers and they'll stay in place. That's the sense of its obedience, because it is one that will spread. You know, like the blue mist flower, it will spread, especially if you have a very moist location. Now I have a drier bed that has some sun, and mine is contained. So you give it, you know, just some ordinary soil and or dirt, not even amended soil, and it will stay in check much better. This one over here, I took this picture at the Merrimack Farm Stonehouse Garden. It's really, that garden really peaks in July, early August. So it's very much a summer garden and is fabulous for butterflies. This was from my garden, and last year it was blooming in November. So, you know, what more can you ask from a plant that, you know, keeps blooming for such a long time? Swamp sunflowers. Now that sounds like you really need a wet location, but I don't have that. I actually have mine in a rather dry bed, and these bloom about the latest in my garden. Excuse me, I'm getting a little choked up here. These are really tall, and they don't bloom until like mid-October. I really look forward to seeing them because they're the last thing to bloom in my garden. And I love the name for sunflowers, Helianthus. It's just a very pretty name. And here's one a little closer too. I had this on the side. This is the side of the roof of my part of my deck. And on this lattice work, I have native honeysuckle, and then you can see that's what these vines are. But in front of that, I have some of these sunflowers that some of them migrate a little closer to the outside of the bed where there's a little more sun. But there's sunflowers for shade too. And it's called a woodland sunflower. And these are blooming in my garden now. They're starting to bloom. And while they do bloom in the shade, they will gravitate a little bit more to where there's some more sun. So, but they're so cute. They're not huge. I mean, you think of sunflowers and you think of, you know, those great big things that these sunflower gardens have, you know, the 8 feet, you know, dinner plate kind of sunflowers. But these are delicate. They're only a couple inches across, but they do attract pollinators. Another really nice flower for fall is turtlehead. And I'm surprised that at Huntley Meadows it blooms so late. so other people are having it bloom now. Its individual flowers kind of resemble a turtle's head. And it's also the, what do I call it? The host plant for a Baltimore checker spot butterfly, I believe. So it's important that way, but it is really pretty. This is the glabra. There is also lion eye, I believe is what it's called. A pink one, which is gorgeous. They even have some cultivars called hot lips or something, but the pink ones are not native to Virginia. They're native to North Carolina and parts south. I've seen them along the Blue Ridge Parkway there in North Carolina, and they are stunning. But the white ones are pretty too. They're just not as, bright, but they certainly do brighten up the fall landscape. And then we're getting into the W's. Winterberry. Now, I didn't want to just show you all flowers because berries are important too for the fauna, and the birds will eat these berries. But this is a deciduous. I'm losing my train of thought because I'm choking. But anyway, it is deciduous, and once the leaves fall, it just all these berries are along its stems. I took this picture at Blandy, at the State Arboretum at Blandy. It's there sort of in the courtyard, and it's just stunning with the number of berries it has. But wouldn't it be even more fabulous if this wall were white? If you planted it at your home or something where you have a white house or a white fence or something background, that would really set it off. But then it also looks great in nature. Here's some from Huntley Meadows in Alexandria. It likes wet. It can take drier conditions, but it does prefer wet, So sometimes you have to keep it watered when you first plant it, and then, once it establishes itself, it can take drier conditions. And witch hazel. Witch hazel is pretty much the last flower to bloom. It has this gorgeous, these gorgeous leaves, turn this golden yellow, and you can see all the leaves that have already fallen, and these spidery little flowers that actually have a very nice subtle fragrance. And sometimes if you go to a place like Shenandoah National Park, and they might line a trail or something, you can really smell them. And I've walked at Shenandoah in the fall and was just enthralled with these. And people would be hiking up to Hawksbill, not even, with like blinders on, not even seeing these beautiful flowers. But I would point them out to people, and they're like, wow, yes, this is really cool. So if people just stop and look or are told what's there, they will appreciate it. So here's one at Blandy with just the flowers. And then here's another close-up of just the flowers. Really nice. Green Spring Gardens Park in Alexandria is known for its witch hazels. It's renowned for them. It has both the native witch hazels, and then it has a bunch of vernal witch hazels that bloom in the early spring, but that are not native, but they have quite a collection of all kinds of witch hazels. And now let's look at combos in nature, or, from some of our sites here. I don't know how many of you might have seen Rick Dark's presentation last Monday that was presented by Audubon and Master Gardeners and Plant Nova natives. But he says, look at nature, get inspiration from nature for how your garden should grow. So, here we have some cardinal flower, we have some goldenrod, and I can't remember what this is. It almost looks like a Joe Pye, but it's too short. So, but just look at what's out there in nature and take your inspiration from that. So I'm just going to show you a few different combinations. This is one from my wild garden. It was a little out of control, as you can see, but I think this is a heath aster or frost. No, it's a frost aster, and this is kind of a rough goldenrod. And then down here is blue mist flower, and this is brown-eyed Susan's Rudbeckia triloba. So, you know, it's just a cacophony of flowers there. And then, you know, here's some goldenrod with either boneset or late flowering thoroughwort, and then even some jewelweed down here. And jewelweed's kind of cool. It attracts hummingbirds as well. So jewelweed will grow often where poison ivy grows, but it grows it likes wet places and wet shade if it has it. So this is actually a shady place because it's under these taller plants. Here's one that's from that Waterloo rest area near Blandy. And this is the blue mist flower in front of the helenium. Let's see, blue mist flower, helenium. You know, so we've got some helenium and I think some goldenrods in there. And this with the red is actually penstemon, which blooms in the spring. Penstemon digitalis. It has white flowers, also called beard tongue. But in the fall, it gets these beautiful red leaves. So it's, you know, and keep the seed heads for the animals, and it's just gorgeous. And here's at the rest area in Dale City, several different kinds of different kinds of asters, you know, white, and I think we have some New York ironweed back here, and then we have, you know, the New England asters or one of the other kind of asters, aromatic or something. Hard to tell sometimes when they're, you know, the photos are farther away. Here's my favorite combination, asters and goldenrods. You just can't lose with that. I just think it's so gorgeous. And there are just so many asters and so many goldenrods that you can choose from. Remember, the asters botanically are mostly Symphyotrichums or Eurybias. Goldenrods are Solidagos. So here's the rest area again, different kinds of asters, just gorgeous. You know, if the pictures don't look that gorgeous, it's because I pulled them off of my Facebook page. So, you know, I'm sure there are a lot better photographers out there, and I just take cell phone shots. But this is just to give you an idea of what, you know, what you can see out there. Here's some goldenrod with either boneset or thoroughwort. I think it's boneset, but I can't be certain. Here's some boneset, some New York ironweed, and then goldenrod in the back, you know, just out in nature. And this is my little garden, right next to my driveway between my, you know, my neighbors just right over on this side. I have a wide bed, wide long bed that's pretty much a late summer fall garden. That's really when it comes into its own. It's the sunniest area of my garden, and I love to see the monarchs in the fall with the, you know, on the asters and the goldenrods. And I know that there are many experts on this Zoom meeting right now, but in case you don't know, I will let you know that these two monarch butterflies can be identified from this photo as to whether they're male or female. If you see this one, it has very wide veining. So this one happens to be a female. This one has very narrow veining. Now you think if you don't see them together, how do you know if it's wide or narrow? Well, the male also has this little wide, two wide spots on the either side of its body. So the vein widens out right there. So if you see that, that's a male. So you can impress your non-botanical friends with that kind of trivia, you know, but people do like that. And I think right here is some kind of, you know, sweat bee or something. So I've shown you these pictures. I've given you examples of different flowers, and then showed you some combinations that you'll see in nature. So you think, well, now what? What am I supposed to do? Where can I get more information? Well, like I say, we're here to help. We're the government. We're here to help, right? The Virginia Native Plant Society, as you see here, this is our tagline, and then this is our logo. And if you look closely, you can see that's a tree with shrubs and flowers underneath. We're here to help. We have lots of printed material, like we do a Wildflower of the Year every year. This year, wild geranium is our Wildflower of the Year. Of course, that's a spring flowering thing. We have brochures, newsletters, whatever. We have this brochure, butterflies for Wildflowers for Butterfly Gardens, and you could download that online, or if you need a quantity of the brochures for class or to give to people, we can provide you with a supply. Of course, we have a big internet presence. We have our website, vnps.org. We have a blog on our website. We highlight different things there. We have a Facebook page. We have both a Facebook page and a Facebook group. And we have a presence on Instagram, which is usually kind of what we have on Facebook. We kind of share the same things there. And then, if you want us to come to your garden club or your HOA and make presentations, we can do that. If we ever, get back off of COVID, get through COVID-19, we can, have tabling events at festivals and whatever. The Wildflower Society has meetings every other month. We usually have an annual plant sale. This time it was canceled. Networking with other enthusiastic and knowledgeable native plant lovers, and lots of opportunities for volunteering. So I'm going to show you some screen prints of our website and social media pages. This is a screen print of our website. As you see here, we have a big banner picture, and it scrolls, so there's like 5 or 6 different pictures that could come up at any time. Further down, we have, on the right-hand side, you can scroll down and there's a lot to see. We actually have a feed of our Facebook page. We have news and updates, and the blog, and that is all further down. On the left here, I'm showing our Virginia Native Plant Society Facebook page. And, we try to post something at least about once a day. Sometimes it's only 5 times a week or something, but something of interest, maybe something that's some announcements, some news about native plants, or, something that is blooming now and that we want to highlight. This is our webpage. We have the wild geranium as our Wildflower of the Year here. If you go across, you'll get a drop-down menu. So if you click on natives, you'll see growing natives, frequently asked questions, native plant guides. We have native plant nurseries. You don't know where to buy native plants. We have lists for you that we have vetted. So, we list our native plant sales. So we have a lot of information available for you. And then we also are in partnership, serve on the steering committee with some state agencies for the Plant Virginia Natives effort, where we've created all these local guides. Central Rappahannock, which is Fredericksburg, Nova Natives, Eastern Shore, Accomack and Northampton counties, or Eastern Shore, Virginia's Capital Region, which is the Richmond area, Northern Neck, Southeast Virginia, Piedmont Natives around the Charlottesville area. And there are efforts right now to create more for like Southwest Virginia, the Ridge and Valley area, and the Southern Piedmont. So this is quite an effort. I'm not sure where everybody is on the call, but for right now, the local area is Nova Natives. Can't recommend this guide any more highly. Gives you a lot of information. It's about 50 pages. It's spiral bound, and it costs $5 in person. We charge online. We'll mail it to you for $8.50. But it's a wonderful resource. I have a whole stack of them here at my house if anybody wants one. But it's also downloadable in a PDF. So if you want to save paper or something, you know, you could let it reside on your computer. But it's a great resource. And this right here is the trumpet honeysuckle or coral honeysuckle, Linicera sempervirens. It's a native honeysuckle, and that's what I have on my trellis at my deck. Blooms a very long time, and it blooms into fall sporadically. This again is our website. Here this is down in southwestern Virginia, near Grayson Highlands area. But if you click on resources, we have a lot of different brochures. We say bulletin archive. We used to call our newsletter the bulletin. We have helpful links, which maybe to other native plant societies, you know, partner groups and stuff. So we do have more information. Sempervirens, forever green or always green, that is our quarterly newsletter. So we have the full archive of that there as well. So all of that is available to you. Our Facebook group, we have more than 8,000 members. And I know that a couple of our admins are on right now, our moderators, Susan Gitlin and Judy Doherty are, I believe, in this meeting. But this group just took over once COVID came on board. Descended on us. I think we had, you know, fewer than 4,000 members before March, and it just mushroomed. I mean, it grew by leaps and bounds. We had to establish some rules, and we have some great moderators to keep things on track. But this is a place where you could share a lot of knowledge online, post photos. A lot of people join and then immediately post a photo like, what's this? You know, so, you know, we try and help people out to identify things. If it's not a native, we don't want to talk about it anymore. We want to just talk about native plants, how to grow them, where to see them, you know, that kind of thing. Share knowledge. We have got some really knowledgeable people in the group, and we have a lot of newbie people that really know nothing about plants but are interested in learning. So I highly recommend this group. And here's just an example from the group. At one time, somebody, you know, posted a couple of pictures. He says, "Is this a native? It seems to spread rapidly." And then, you know, John Hayden, who is the VNPS botany chair and a professor at the University of Richmond, identified it as evening primrose. So that's the sort of thing, you know, and then the discussion went on from there. So as I wrap up here, contact information. And once again, my name is Nancy Veers. This is my email address. The VNPS has an email address here. Our office manager works part-time, generally 4 hours a day. This is our website. The Plant Nova Natives has an excellent website if you're wanting to plant, you know, this is a gardening with natives kind of website, has a lot of information about, you know, like deer resistant plants and that kind of thing. And then the Plant Virginia Natives, if you're coming to this call from outside of Northern Virginia, you might want to check out the plantvirginianatives.org website and find a guide or the information for the area in which you live. Now, if you want to save this information, you can hit print screen on your screen, on your keyboard, and then save it into a Word, you know, copy and paste it into a Word document or something, and then you have all this information. Or you could take your cell phone, you know, and take a picture, and you'd have that information so that you don't have to have paper. But once again, I thank Kim for inviting me to give a presentation here. I hope I haven't talked your ear off this evening. And I'm happy to answer questions, but if I know the answer, we can go from there. So shall I stop the screen share now, Kim, or do you want me
Yes.
to leave this up?
No,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll stop the share. I hope anybody got the information. There we go. Hello, everybody. Good to see you again. So,
well, I am recording this, so I'll send out an email and you can watch it again.
oh,
Our YouTube channel for
yeah.
Prairie Conservation Alliance. And while people are deciding if they have questions, again, please raise your hand and wait until I call on you. There was a question in the chat about the value of raised beds.
The value of raised beds. Raised beds can be good for a couple of reasons. I mean, one thing, you don't, as we age, you don't have to bend over as much. But I think most people like to use raised beds to amend the soil. And I think one of the things with native plants, which I didn't bring up here, is that you want the right plant for your own conditions. You know, let's use what we have. Don't try and, change your dry area and, force the wrong kind of plants to grow there by trying to baby them. A lot of your native plants don't want really rich soil. I mean, some that, grow in the forest, might like, a amended soil, but you're not going to have a raised bed right under some trees or something. So I think raised beds are a mixed bag here. It's more conventional gardening from the way I look at it.
Okay, and then we had a question about Stokes asters that seem to bloom for a longer period of time. Do you know anything?
Well, Stokes asters are not native to Virginia, unfortunately. They're more southern. They are pretty, and they're much better than something from Europe or whatever, but they are not native to Virginia. So if you really want to look for native plants, they don't fit the bill. So
and Carolyn,
there you go.
She worries about her native plants that are cultivars, which is, I know, an ongoing discussion, and should they be replaced?
I'm not a purist. I think cultivars can satisfy a lot of the problems with HOAs not wanting native plants, because some native plants are more gangly or something, or can look weedy. I feel like cultivars that change the leaf color, change the flower color, I mean, that's really going to mess with the insects that pollinate them or use them to feed on. Ones that I think that make them shorter or more compact, I don't really think that's a problem from my standpoint, but I'm not a purist. I know a lot of our Native Plant Society folks are. We are gardening, maybe if you have a huge area, forest and whatever, and you're trying to do restoration work, you would not put in a cultivar or something. But in your typical townhouse or quarter-acre lot, sometimes cultivars just work better for people. I hope that answers the question.
And there's one question here about in Charlottesville, if there's any source for trading plants. But before you go ahead and answer that, I would like to point out I have one source for trading plants here in Prince William County, which is at our wildlife garden at Merrimack Farm, where we have some plants that we have tons of, and we'd like some more diversity. So if you're interested in mixing and matching, please send me an email or give me a call, and I'll include all our contact information
Yeah.
in the follow-up email.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that have, that would be willing to share or trade or something. For those of you in the Charlottesville area, I would recommend contacting the Jefferson chapter. You can find that information on the vnps.org, the website. Probably the people that deal with the plant sale and stuff might be willing to share or, trade. talk with the person who might be the plant sale chair or somebody who's the horticulture chair or something like that. So yeah, to find like-minded people, that is a good thing to do, you know. And it's a lot cheaper too. Another thing, plants can sometimes be kind of expensive. So, trading is a good thing, though sometimes the kind of plants that you get in a trade might be something that is really overly vigorous. So be careful of that. But yeah, another way that you can go to spend less money on plants is to buy a tray of plugs, which are, very small plants, and you might get 50 in a plot, in a lot, what do you call those, well, a tray of them or whatever. So go in with some friends and buy a full tray. So that works well. Oh, there's a Facebook group, Charlottesville Plant Swap group. So there you go, you can check that out. Okay.
As with many things, persistence counts. I don't see anybody else have their hand up. Last call for questions and comments.
Any suggestions on where to get plugs? If you look at our native plant source list that's on the website, it'll show some nurseries, it'll say whether, it sells plugs or whatever. I know that the Prince William chapter can get plugs from North Creek Nursery, but it is just wholesale. But there are some other retail mail order kind of places that sell plugs. Like if you get them from North Creek, that's where we got the plants for the Dale City Rest area. North Creek Nursery is in Pennsylvania, and the plants were all shipped down. And I'm amazed at how well they package these plants for shipping. I mean, you don't want to have them. I don't think they'll ship when the temperatures are 95 degrees or something, but they don't hesitate to get things shipped to you from a fairly local source.
Okay, and then one last question here. Do any of the plants that you shared have medicinal qualities?
Medicinal qualities. Well, witch hazel. You can make a tincture out of witch hazel. Oh my. I don't really know because I don't study them for that purpose. But I'm sure you could you could Google some of these plants, especially with their botanical names, to find some more information about that.
And as far as the plant list goes, I don't know if you have a list, but we will be posting the recording up online, as we said before. So you
Now,
will list all the plants.
Yeah. Well, I specified some particular plants, like out of the asters or something, but if you look at like the Plant Nova Natives book, it'll show asters, Symphyotrichums, and show 6 or 8 species there that you can choose for your different particular purposes. So I think it has 16 or 18 particular plants listed here, but when you look at the broad groupings, it's a lot more plants, like goldenrods or something. Because I think goldenrods, what do we have? Something like 100 species of goldenrods are out there. And I forget what other one. I mean, there are a lot of species of the asters too. So, yeah.
Okay, anybody else? No questions. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming. I will send a follow-up email with a link on where this will be posted up on our YouTube channel, and hope you join us again. We have, as I said, the next program is on the settlement, and following that, we have something coming up with Larry Mead on dragonflies and damselflies. So that should be really interesting. And I hope you will visit our webpage, Prince William Conservation Alliance, and consider becoming a member. Oh, here comes Harry.
Oh my, finally. And consider becoming a member of the Virginia Native Plant Society, join online. We're both the Conservation Alliance, the Native Plant Society. We're great organizations. We have wonderful people, and, we learn from each other.
Oh yeah, and it's nice to always have Nancy to do stuff with. We usually,
Yeah,
so we do
we,
some partner projects for sure.
yeah, we do. Yes. Well, thanks everybody for joining me.
And thanks for coming. I hope we see you soon.
Okay. Bye, y'all. So Kim, how many did we have?
I think 135.
135. Oh, that's pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Now, all these are growing in numbers, but that was pretty high. Every time I look at you, you're like on a different place.
I know some other people jump around in different places.
Uh-huh.
And Harry's like a hologram or whatever.
Where is he? I can't believe it. His timing was just perfect. Where are
Yeah, I think he found the news more important than my presentation.
Oh,
That's the support you get from your own partner.
there he
Yeah.
is. Of course.
Yeah.
What?
So,
The Secret Service did shoot someone outside the White
Oh, Eli just said the Secret Service did shoot somebody outside the White House.
really? Oh my.
Just now?
House. I think like an hour ago.
An hour ago?
I
Oh
just
my.
hopped on Twitter real quick and
Oh. Yeah.
but who knows?
So,
Well, this would have been more fun with people in front of me because I could have fed off them, but
yeah, and you
Yeah.
can't, like, you tell a joke and that's what Larry was talking about.
yeah.
Television.
Did anybody get that? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Marianne. Oh, thanks for
Nancy.
joining.
It was great.
I'm glad you
I really
joined.
enjoyed it. Yeah, great to see you. I'll
Same
see you
here.
again soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. Yeah. So Kim, when this is recorded, can you see the chat?
Oh,
Because I
wait.
see a lot.
Hold on. Let me stop it.
Okay.